justified the presence of U.S. military advisors in Venezuela. This need to maintain social stability for our investments accounts for the counter-revolutionary action of American forces in Guatemala. It tells why American helicopters are being used against guerrillas in Cambodia and why American napalm and Green Beret forces have already been active against rebels in Peru. It is with such activity in mind that the words of the late John F. Kennedy come back to haunt us. 5 years ago, he said, "Those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable." Increasingly by choice or by accident, this is the role our nation has taken, the role of those who make peaceful revolution impossible by refusing to give up the privileges and the pleasures that come from the immense profits of overseas investments. I am convinced that if we are to get on the right side of the world revolution, we as a nation must undergo a radical revolution of values. We must rapidly begin the shift from a thing-oriented society to a person-oriented society, when machines and computers, profit motives and property rights are considered more important than people. The giant triplets of racism, extreme materialism, and militarism are incapable of being conquered. A true revolution of values will soon cause us to question the fairness and justice of many of our past and present policies. On the one hand, we are called to play the Good Samaritan on life's roadside, but that will be only an initial act. One day we must come to see that the whole Jericho road must be transformed so that men and women will not be constantly beaten and robbed as they make their journey on life's highway. True compassion is more than flinging a coin to a beggar. It comes to see that an edifice which produces beggars needs restructuring.
All right, an edifice which produces beggars needs restructuring. I think that entire speech, you can fit it right in contemporary Detroit. You can fit it right into the context of the social construct that we have right here in the city of Detroit. Dr. King talks about a revolution of values. And I think when people criticize the status quo in Detroit, when they criticize the mayor, the city council, the administration, people that are in the front row who bid their hand to the chest as the leaders of the city and basically demand on them to do more, it's all about, in the words of Dr. King, a revolution, a call to a revolution of values.
Well, it would appear that we, in 2018 in Detroit, are the Jericho Road of which Dr. King speaks. And the fact of the matter is it's not enough to reach out and save one person, because we need to save ourselves. And that means transforming the Jericho Road and its nature. And that's the hardest thing for people to get, is that it's about transforming the way we see ourselves and the way we see this city. It's not about one person doing well or 10 people doing well or just those who live downtown doing well.
Right.
It's about how do we make everyone in the city do well.
Oh, and it's not about maintaining a system in this town that produces more people to be in poverty or produces beggars, as Dr. King would say. Let's take a final call from Kino. Question, Mohammed.
Hi, yes. Just wanted to see if you guys could speak a little bit about Martin Luther King's Poor People's Campaign and how much you believe that may or may not have contributed to his death. I know that was part of his last speech that he gave, and just wanted to get your feedback on that. And if you think, people see him more as a symbol and just kind of give lip service rather than trying to, follow his legacy.
All right. Thank you, Kino. I think the Poor People's Campaign, Poor People's Campaign, in fact, It was led by Bernard Lafayette, who's a personal friend of mine. He's speaking at Central United Methodist Church Monday afternoon for MLK Day. He was the national administrator for King's Poor People's Campaign. But look, Bill, Dr. King died on the eve of what? On the eve of speaking to sanitation workers in Memphis. That was all part of the larger, I guess, the larger organizing of the Poor People's Campaign.
Well, I just want to say one point first, and that is that nobody lives life as a symbol unless they're Prince. Everybody lives life as a human being.
Right.
And that's what Dr. King was doing, was living his life and using the life that he had to make a difference for others. And when he was killed in Memphis, he was trying to make a difference for sanitation workers. Imagine this. This is a man who has been to the White House. This is a man who has received the Nobel Peace Prize. This is a man who helped lead to Civil Rights Act and other things. But yet here he was, wearing overalls, working with garbage workers so that they could have a better life. Right. That says that he was truly committed to making a difference for poor people, because garbage workers were probably at the bottom of the heap. And I know because I had an uncle who was a garbage worker.
All right, Riverside.
The revolution of values will soon look uneasily on the glaring contrast of poverty and wealth with righteous indignation. It will look across the seas and see individual capitalists of the West investing huge sums of money in Asia, Africa, and South America, only to take the profits out with no concern for the social betterment of the countries and say this is not just. It will look at our alliance with the landed gentry of South America and say this is not just. The Western arrogance of feeling that it has everything to teach others and nothing to learn from them is not just. A true revolution of values will lay hand on the world order and say of war, this way of settling differences is not just. This business of burning human beings with napalm, of filling our nation's homes with orphans and widows, of injecting poisonous drugs of hate into the veins of peoples normally humane, of sending men home from dark and bloody battlefields, physically handicapped and psychologically deranged, cannot be reconciled with wisdom, justice, and love. A nation that continues year after year to spend more money on military defense than on programs of social uplift is approaching spiritual death.
All right, we'll end it right there. Approaching spiritual death. I take away, Bill, from that speech to where King talks about the glaring contrast between poverty and wealth. There could not be a better analogy that really puts, that describes where this city is and where we are.
Well, yesterday when we talked about his speech, The Other America, he spoke of three ghettos.
Right.
The ghetto of racism, the ghetto of poverty, and the ghetto of misery. And we find those ghettos still in existence today. And what we need to do is look back to this speech on Vietnam and look at how do we begin to pull ourselves out of that. And I don't mean by our bootstraps, but I mean as a society, as one entire country.
And the question the Detroit government should ask itself is whether it will continue, it will have a system that produces more beggars, or a system that invests in social uplift, as Dr. King said in his speech on the war in Vietnam. We'll be back tomorrow with more consequential speeches that define the life of perhaps America's premier peace officer, whom, we will remember his life and legacy on Monday. I'm Bankole Thompson. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow with more on Redline. Cliff Russell is up next.